This is a multimedia presentation on obsolete and emerging technologies. We will look at the overhead projector and the interactive whiteboard. Let's take a look at the obsolete technology, the overhead projector. It provides a low-cost interactive environment for educators. It has an adjustable knob that enlarges images, and it allows teachers to write on transparencies with an overhead transparency marker. During the 1980s and 1990s, a tool to facilitate better communication between teachers and students. It has enlarging features of the projector teachers can use to write in a comfortable small script. Overhead projectors are becoming obsolete due to the use of computing technology in modern society. Overhead projectors are becoming obsolete due to their inability to support the features that modern technology users demand. And overhead projectors poorly display moving images. Let's now take a look at our emerging technology, the interactive whiteboard. The interactive whiteboard displays the user's computer desktop onto the board surface where users control the computer. It allows teachers to facilitate multisensory learning such as group collaboration exercises. Users are able to use a stylus or pen that drags icons and text features along the whiteboard. It allows teachers to use 5-minute video clips that demonstrate a new concept as part of the teacher's lesson. It also allows teachers to cast student responses with an instrument known as the active vote. The interactive whiteboard includes features such as the ability to create virtual versions of paper flip charts, pen and highlighter options, and possibly even virtual rulers, protractors and compasses, instruments that support traditional classroom teaching. Interactive whiteboards are emerging and continuously replacing overhead projectors. Research shows that students learn better when they fully engage in multisensory, hands-on learning. Interactive whiteboards facilitate multisensory learning. The main advantage for emerging technology in education is that school practitioners can stimulate deep thinking on how educational practice can change and how practitioners can find ways to prepare for the changes when they are ready to begin implementation. Let's now take a look at the obsolete technology tetrad for the overhead projector. It enhances the ability to project writing and images along a wall or screen, the ability to enhance or minimize writing and images, the ability to write on transparencies with washable markers, and the ability to allow users to write normally along a flat surface. It obsoletes the need to write with a small font, loss of instructional time due to erasing and writing on a chalkboard, need for teachers to continually hold their wrists upright for writing, and need for teachers to keep their back towards students in the chalkboard. It retrieves the ability to use a focus knob for adjusting, the ability to use a visual resource, and it also retrieves or allows teachers to facilitate teacher-to-student discourse. It reverses into dynamic interactive whiteboards that display images, animation designs, and video clips. Let's now take a look at the emerging technology tetrad for the interactive whiteboard. It enhances the ability to provide applications to support multisensory learning, the ability to use a handheld voting device which allows learners to enter responses to questions. It also enhances the ability to create virtual versions of paper flip charts, pen and highlighter options, and possibly even virtual rulers, protractors, and compasses, instruments that support traditional classroom teaching. It also enhances the ability to allow users to manipulate, drag, and drop their responses into specific locations with the use of a stylus or pen. The interactive whiteboard obsoletes the need to use overhead projectors, whiteboards, chalkboards, filming projectors, digital and videotape players. It retrieves or rekindles the ability for teachers to promote teacher-to-student discourse, the ability to rekindle pedagogical practices that promote cognitive learning, and it retrieves the ability for teachers to facilitate rich classroom discussions and clarification. The interactive whiteboard reverses the ability to provide learners with individual tablets, laptops, or Chromebooks for every student. It also reverses the ability for students to have individual devices that are able to interact collaboratively. Also, the ability to allow individual learners to have access to the internet, and it reverses the ability to use holograms that project three-dimensional images. We will now look into our decision maker interview. John Allaire is an instructional specialist with Montgomery County Public Schools Department of Technology Consulting and Communications. He works in the central office. The date of the interview is Wednesday, October 1st, 2018. During the interview, Mr. Allaire shares his background as an educator. He also discusses his views regarding the obsolete technology, the overhead projector, and the emerging technology, the interactive whiteboard. Okay, today is October 1st, and the purpose of this study is to analyze the obsolete overhead projector and an emerging interactive whiteboard technologies with the use of tools to support future predictions. And this study will also examine criteria to determine when a technology emerges. I have John Allaire, who is an instructional specialist with MCPS Public Schools, and we're going to discuss his insights and what he has to say about obsolete and emerging technologies. So my first question, how are you, sir?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for doing this interview.
Not a problem.
And the first question I have is, could you tell me a little bit about your background and your decision to become an instructional specialist with Montgomery County's Department of Technology Consulting and Communications?
Sure. I started out as an elementary school teacher, did that for about 6 years, During that time, it was kind of witness to a lot of instructional technology changes that were happening then, and was really kind of piqued my interest in instructional technology. I've always kind of been fairly good with computers, and at that time it was we were going through a phase, not quite where we are now, but we were getting new computers. We were getting moving to handheld devices. It really kind of piqued my interest, and at that point, I knew as a teacher I needed to get a master's degree. And they had a master's in educational technology, and just kind of took off from there. Worked with my school to do professional development, and finished up my master's. And pretty much right after my master's was finished, it was I knew there was a job opening for an instructional technology specialist. I applied, got it, and been doing this for about 11 years. I kind of knew it was where I always wanted to go. It wasn't like that I wanted to get out of the classroom. I enjoyed the classroom. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the work that I was doing, but I knew that I eventually would definitely need a change, and it was kind of where I wanted to go, and I knew the opening was coming, so I applied, took the opportunity, and that led to where I am now.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And then my second question for you is, in your opinion, what factors determine how schools begin to integrate or use an emerging technology?
In that case, there are a lot of factors. Some are external, some are internal. The external stuff is going to be money's always going to be a factor. Mm-hmm. The school may want to do something, or the county or the district may want to do something, but it's going to come down to money. So that's an external factor. Another external factor would be if there's initiatives or programs that are put in place at the county-wide level and then expected to be implemented at each individual school. So mm-hmm. the two externals is always going to be money and then county-wide initiatives. Internal, I would say you're primarily looking at interest. You may have a few staff members interested in doing technology A or technology B, and then it can kind of build across the building. Internal is also, and some of this is external as well, but mostly internal. It comes down to technology fluency. Basically, mm-hmm. where are staff on the technology spectrum? Some are going to require more support, some are going to require less support. With that also comes the training and the support that's available. And that can be in-house or external as well. So yeah, I think you kind of have to look at, when you're looking at integrating an upcoming technology, you have to look at the external and the internal forces, mm-hmm. and then you really have to kind of develop a plan of action. We want to move forward with, say, whiteboards or mobile technology. You have to really look at, okay, these are our driving forces, this is the support we have, and then kind of develop a plan from there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Not a problem at all.
And why do you think the purchase and the use of overhead projectors in school was popular?
Now, we're talking the old, yeah. You write on it,
you
okay,
write on it. It's definitely obsolete.
I think that was popular because it allowed a medium, it allowed an interactive medium, meaning similar to now, where you can project with a projector and the kids can manipulate things on a computer. It's the same. It's not the same. It's the same medium, but it's the same kind of purpose, and that it allows that interactivity, and that I can showcase something. I can model papers. I can mm-hmm. have kids come up and respond to it. And then it also allowed the freedom where the teacher could develop materials on the fly. If they just had you roll the little sheet thing and you get a blank slate. Yeah. So it definitely brought in interactive. At the time it came in, it was basically brought in an interactive medium that was flexible enough to work with it as a blank slate, but you could also, if there was a workbook or a page in a thing, or a book that you wanted to show the kids, you could Xerox it and then make a overhead transparency of that. So it definitely was a flexible medium. I'm sure many teachers went away, myself included, with purple and blue and at the end of the day. By the time you cleaned off the overhead projector, but yeah, I think it became popular because, one, the price. I mean, the technology itself was not that expensive. In fact, I think the overhead transparencies, the thing that the thermal transparencies you
Yes,
run, actually
yeah.
costed more than the actual, over time, costed more than the actual device. So yeah, I think the cost was definitely a factor, but I also think the medium and that it allowed for an interactivity at a relatively little to no training offer. I mean, it's turn it on, whatever's on top of that overhead projector, that's what gets projected. So really no cost. Well, I would say no. I would say minimal cost to training. You know, maybe if you had to change the bulb or something like that. But yeah, I would say that's kind of why. Yeah, that's why it would take off. Low cost, minimal training, ease of implementation as well.
Excellent. And you know, you've seen schools do this, but why do you think they've made the decision to integrate the interactive whiteboards into the classroom?
Okay, so in MCPS we went through that. I think it was about, well, it's been transitioning. The big push was really about 2 years ago, but I'd say over the last 2 to 4 years we've kind of been transitioning to that. Part of that, it basically got to the point where the overhead projector becomes limiting. There's only so much you can do with it, and as a teacher, you know, as technology evolved, there's this great website that wants to do that, but the overhead projector doesn't allow me to project that. So so the medium itself, as technology evolved, kind of became limited. So people were looking out. They were looking outwards. So one of the transitions, kind of in between the overhead projector and the whiteboard, is that it was a computer hooked up to a LCD projector, and then it was shown on the board. So now you're able to project a different medium. And then from there, it went to the interactive whiteboards. As far as schools making the decision to integrate, I think it came as a part, at least in MCPS, it came as a part. It came as a partnership with a vendor. At the time, we had seen what the Promethean vendor had to offer, and there are other vendors. There's a smartboard vendor, and it came down to, we really wanted a shift in our curriculum that basically called for more rigor and more engagement, and that's really what the whiteboard kind of brings to instruction. It does bring the direct instruction where you can use it as a tool to instruct, but also it brings the engagement to the kids where the kids can come up and interact with the content. So I think it's a combination of our curriculum was changing, so we needed our teaching method to change. And at that point, we had reached out to several vendors, and we kind of developed a partnership with Promethean, which was good because at the time, and they're pretty much still the leader in whiteboard technology. So we kind of went with who offered the most feature, price, and then also who was going to provide ongoing support. Okay. So when it was really looked at, we know, like I said, our curriculum is changing. We need something more active, more engaging in the classroom, and something that went beyond the limits of an overhead projector. Gotcha. Now, with that said, it was kind of interesting as a instructional technology specialist to see the kind of switch to that, because we kind of mentioned one of the internal factors was that teachers had to be ready. So some teachers went above and beyond, ready to go with it. Some teachers took that Promethean board and used it as a means to project their overhead projector. So with time and with enough practice, I haven't seen that in the last several years, but again, it's just one of those things, got to be ready for the transition.
Very good, very good. And then the last question is, what new technological advancements do you see emerging in classrooms when interactive whiteboards become obsolete?
That's an interesting question, because we're kind of in, at least at MCPS, we're kind of in that transition now. The push over the last, I'd say probably 2 to 4 years has been, the interactive whiteboard technologies, as well as the handheld components where the kids can vote in on that. But now we're in another transitional phase. We're moving more towards mobile technology and cloud-based technology where the kids have access to their stuff 24/7. I don't think that makes whiteboard technology obsolete. I do think it makes it, I wouldn't say less meaningful. It definitely makes it, as a teacher, you definitely have to plan differently. Because with mobile technology coming in the classroom, your focus is moving away from here's the board where it's 30 or 25, 30 kids. The focus is there to here you have your individual device. So it's but I don't think that mobile technology is going to make it obsolete, because as a teacher, you're not always going to use, the kids aren't always going to be on a laptop, they're not always going to be on a Chromebook. There are still going to be times where it's direct instruction or small instruction on that whiteboard space, whether that's an interactive whiteboard or whether that's just a plain whiteboard or a chalkboard. So yeah, so I don't see, at least at this point, I don't see the whiteboards becoming obsolete. I can see that in the future, though, if it, especially with more online, if classes become more online, I can see that becoming. But in the near future, I don't see the whiteboards becoming obsolete. But I see them being used less as a tool for direct instruction as we're moving into mobile technology.
Okay.
Because teachers can now deliver the content not on one device, but multiple devices at the same time.
Excellent. Well, those are all of my questions, and thank you.
Not a problem at all.
Great. We will now focus on our end user interview. Heidi Walker is the media specialist for Montgomery County Public Schools John T. Baker Middle School. During the interview, Ms. Walker shares her background as an educator. She also shares her views regarding the obsolete technology, the overhead projector, and the emerging technology, the interactive whiteboard. Good morning. Today is October the 1st, 2014, and I am the purpose of this study is to analyze an obsolete overhead projector and an emerging interactive whiteboard technologies with the use of tools that support future predictions. And this study will also examine criteria to determine when a technology emerges. Right now I have Heidi Walker, our media specialist here at John T. Baker Middle School, who has agreed to answer a few questions regarding an obsolete technology such as the overhead projector and an emerging technology, the interactive whiteboard. So we're just going to get started with the questions. So, Mrs. Walker, my first question is, can you tell me a little bit about your background and your decision to become a media specialist?
My background is that I taught science for 18 years before becoming a media specialist. So I taught science in high school and in a junior high in Pennsylvania for 9 years, and then moved to Maryland and taught at Sherwood High School and then Kingsview Middle School. So during those 18 years, as much as I love science and I love teaching with students, I just was looking for something different, some sort of change, and I wanted to do something that dealt with curriculum and yet still had contact with students. So I didn't want to just go total curriculum writing and be in an office someplace. I wanted to still interact with kids. And MCPS was looking for media specialists, and they offered cohort classes, and that's how I ended up deciding to do it.
That's amazing.
Great decision. It was a great decision for me, yeah.
So no regrets with that.
No
That's
regrets.
good. Yeah.
I think the best part is I still get to teach, so I still get to do the instruction. The instruction is just different. It's not just science, but I think by proving that I was a science teacher, I got the science teachers at Baker on board with the fact that, yes, I could write a lesson, yes, I could do instruction, yes, I could manage a class. And then that brought other people in saying, oh, well, she can manage a class? Okay,
That's
fine.
great,
Then
yeah.
I could teach the lessons.
So that
And-
science background really helped you out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yep.
So then the second question is, in your opinion, what factors determine how schools begin to integrate or use an emerging technology?
I think a lot depends on the staff itself, because it's going to be reliant on the staff to incorporate that in their lessons. We could provide all the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and yet if we had, whiteboards in every room but nobody knew how to use them, they would just be a projector.
Yeah.
So I think the willingness of some staff to learn, the willingness of a couple staff members to become lead teachers
Mhm.
within, that helps the rest of their team or the rest of their department get on board with it. And I think, noticing that here at Baker, there were several people that were definitely, gung-ho when we got some new things. Even now, with the Chromebooks, there's several teachers that want to take the classes.
Mm-hmm.
So those teachers will become like the resident expert or the resident go-to person. And then by having a couple teachers really, really comfortable with the new technology, it helps everybody else get on board.
Excellent. Excellent. And then my third question is, why do you think the use of overhead projectors for school was popular?
As a classroom teacher, I know why I liked it. I used it primarily because I could be working on the overhead and still face the students.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you were using a chalkboard, as much as I enjoyed using a chalkboard because I liked it,
Uh-huh.
I liked the effect of it, and you could, make it colorful and, diagrams. But I would use my diagrams and I keep them up for a long time. In science, we'd draw something and say, okay, this is the lesson for the week. The overhead allowed me to write or show something, but I could still face the kids. So my
Yeah.
back was not to the audience, more or less.
Good. Very
And in middle
good.
school, that's pretty important.
That is important.
Yeah, you don't want to be turned away too long.
Too long. Then the fourth question is, why do you think as a school, we are making the decision to integrate interactive whiteboards into the classroom?
Again, I think we're staying up with technology because that was the new trend, about 5 years ago. That's when
Mhm.
whiteboards were coming in. I think a lot of teachers use it in different ways. Like if you go into different classrooms, you see different uses with the whiteboard. There are some that truly are only using it as a projector, where they project their lesson on there. So instead of having a computer hooked up to an LCD projector, they're just projecting it.
Oh,
But
boy.
there are lots of teachers who use it interactively. I think almost every teacher that I've seen so far uses a pen. So
Yeah.
they can then stand away from their computer. They can stand in front of the class and they can manipulate anything that's on the screen. In some classes, I've seen students go up and manipulate. Math is a great one for that, where they'll ask the students to come up and, okay, you solve the problem on the board. So
Okay.
it's kind of like, a classroom tool, chalkboard, overhead projector, all combined in one.
Uh-huh.
But it makes it student friendly. The kids actually probably know more than any single teacher because they see different teachers in different classes, so they get to see
Gotcha.
all the different tricks and tools and all the manipulatives that each different teachers use. But they combine it and they can put on a good show. If I let them use my whiteboard here, which they sometimes do,
Yeah.
they can show me things that I don't know how to do because one teacher figured something out, and then through the kids they're sharing the technology, which is pretty cool.
So they're showing
They
us.
can show us, yeah. If one teacher knows how to, like for example, there was a special timer that we wanted to use for something, and the kids knew exactly where it was. They knew which timer it was. They knew because another teacher had used it.
Oh, wow.
So that's
Amazing.
it says something. The kids are truly paying attention to what the teachers are doing, not just the material, but they're also watching the technology that's going on, as they teach. So
That's great.
yep,
That's
it's
great.
kind of interesting.
And then one of my last questions is, what new technological advancements do you see emerging in classrooms when interactive whiteboards become obsolete?
I think we're heading in the direction of the whole bring your own device.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to mean that everybody might have something totally different in their hands. So I don't think the whiteboard's going to go obsolete anytime soon, just because we need a central focus.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also see, even using some of the Google Chrome things, where a teacher can push an activity to a student's device. So it's not going to be so much centered up on the screen in front of you. It's going to be on the tiny screen in front of you. So instead of a big board in front of the classroom, the activity would be pushed to every device. So every student will have that interactive activity, whatever the activity is, right in front of them, which is going to be interesting.
That is an interesting upgrade.
And I don't know what that direction is really going to look like. You know, I know that we have the capability of doing that now, and you know, John might be able to speak more to that, because he showed me how to do that, how to push an activity to every student so that everybody has it open at the same time.
At the same time, wow.
So I don't know. As a teacher, as a classroom teacher, I'd be thinking, okay, how would I use this, and how often would I want to use that, versus, you know, my own instruction. How often do I want to send it just to the students so that they can manipulate something?
Very good.
So.
Well, thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate it. This was a great interview. It gives me great insight into the difference between these two technologies. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Six forces. Evolutionary technologies on technology's original emergence. The force of evolutionary technologies provides information on why an technology originally emerges. Dr. Thornburg refers to the force of evolutionary technology to describe how new innovations follow predictable and transformative patterns that support the emergence of more powerful forms of technology. When it comes to evolutionary technologies on obsolete technology, an example of an obsolete technology is the overhead projector. The overhead projector emerges to replace chalkboards. Overhead projectors allow teachers to provide writing and images along a flat surface, such as a screen or wall. During the end user interview with the school media specialist Heidi Walker, she indicates that the overhead projector allows the classroom facilitator to face the class to write at the same time. Evolutionary technologies on emerging technology. The force of evolutionary technologies also provides information on why the replacement technology emerges. New technologies progress or grow from previous technologies. An example is the interactive whiteboard. Interactive whiteboards are replacing overhead projectors. Interactive whiteboards use a computer to provide applications and support multisensory learning. Features include handheld device, which allows learners to enter their responses to questions for voting. Users can also choose graphics to represent information. During my decision maker interview with instructional specialist John Allaire, he points out that the classroom instruction and curriculum changes are one of the forces to drive emerging technologies. Over time, teachers and staff members see a need for training in learning how to use the emerging technology. Six forces. Rhymes of history on obsolete technologies' original emergence. The force of rhymes of history has an effect or impact of a new development. It rekindles something from the distant past. It is not the technology, but what the technology rekindles from the past. An example is social networking. Social networking rekindles ancient times when people gather to network and socialize around a watering hole. Rhymes of history on obsolete technology. The force of rhymes of history is useful for explaining why an obsolete technology, such as an overhead projector, originally emerges. The effect or impact of a new development rekindles something from the distant past. The end-user interview with school media specialist Heidi Walker reveals that teachers can use an overhead projector and be the sage on the stage. Teachers can use an overhead projector to facilitate teacher-to-student discourse as they display information or an image. Overhead projectors use a focus and adjustment knob, which is similar to adjusting the camera's lens. Overhead projectors provide learners with a visual resource. Rhymes of history on emerging technology. The force of rhymes of history also explains why a replacement technology such as the interactive whiteboard also emerges. When it comes to the rhymes of history, new technology emerges from the impact of feelings from a previous technology. The decision maker interview with an instructional specialist, John Allaire, reveals that interactive whiteboards allow teachers to rekindle and include all structures that go within a lesson plan. Teachers can develop a flip chart which includes a warm-up and includes activities that are part of the lesson. Interactive whiteboards retrieve the ability for teachers to promote teacher-to-student discourse. The features also rekindle pedagogical practices that promote cognitive learning. Interactive whiteboards allow students to demonstrate and show what they know. The features allow teachers to facilitate rich classroom discussions and clarify. 6 forces. Disruptive technologies on obsolete technologies' original emergence. A disruptive technology is a technology that displaces another technology. Thornburg defines a disruptive technology as new technology with the same functionality of an existing technology. The new technology functions more efficiently and will obsolete the previous technology. Disruptive technologies on obsolete technology. The force of disruptive technologies is useful in explaining why an obsolete technology such as an overhead projector originally emerges. The overprojector displaces the use of facilitators having to use a blackboard. Overhead projectors allow teachers to project writing and images along a flat surface such as a screen or wall. The instrument has a focus adjustment knob which allows users to make images larger or smaller. Teachers are able to write or pre-print assignments on plastic sheets or transparencies with a non-permanent pen washable marker. Users place overhead projectors on a cart that stands at the front at a comfortable writing height. The user may face a class and write at the same time. The user can also write on the transparency normally with a regular size font. Disruptive technologies on emerging technology. The force of disruptive technologies is also useful in explaining why a replacement technology such as an interactive whiteboard displaces the overhead projector. Facilitators use a computer to provide applications and support multisensory learning. Features include a handheld voting device which allows learners to enter their responses to questions. Another feature is the use of graphics to represent information. Features include the ability to create virtual versions of flip charts, pen and highlighter options, and possibly even virtual rulers, protractors, and compasses. Instruments that support traditional classroom teaching. Users can manipulate, drag, and drop their responses. 6 forces. Science fiction on obsolete technologies' original emergence. Science fiction provides a vehicle that allows innovators to imagine and grow. Dr. Thornburg describes science fiction as the stories that trigger the imagination of investors. Science fiction on obsolete technology. It is not common to see the force of science fiction as a useful resource for explaining why an obsolete technology such as an overhead projector emerges. In 1945, the U.S. Army was able to use the overhead projector as a training tool during World War II. The overhead projector was also useful for police identification work in the 1940s. Schools began using the overhead projector as a tool in the 1950s. Overhead projector sales were a useful resource in schools through the 1990s. Science fiction on emerging technology. The force of science fiction is useful in explaining why a replacement technology such as an interactive whiteboard emerges. Movies such as Star Trek Into Darkness feature interactive boards with touchscreens. Users gather information with the use of virtual tools. 6 forces. Increasing returns on obsolete technologies' original emergence. The force of increasing returns results from a competition between two similar technologies. Thornburg says that the state of increasing returns will occur when two technologies hit the market at the same time. By chance, one technology drives the other technology into extinction. Increasing returns on obsolete technology. The overhead projector as an obsolete technology does not emerge as a result of increasing returns. The overhead projector is a technological advancement that emerges after the opaque projector. It allows practitioners to face and interact with their audience. They can also pre-print assignments on plastic sheets or transparencies with a non-permanent washable marker. The user can also write on the transparency, normally with a regular size font marker. Increasing returns on emerging technology. The interactive whiteboard is an emerging technology that does not emerge as a result of increasing returns. It replaces the overhead projector. Interactive whiteboards use a computer to provide applications and support multisensory learning. The features on an interactive whiteboard allow users to facilitate dynamic lessons. Features include a handheld voting device which allows learners to enter their responses to questions. Another feature on the interactive whiteboard is the use of graphics to represent information. Yet another feature on the interactive whiteboard is the use of graphics to represent information. Other technologies such as the Elmo and LCD projector provide similar capabilities. However, possibly due to costs, interactive whiteboards do not supersede the other technologies. 6 forces. Red Queens on obsolete technologies' original emergence. The Red Queen is a result of two technologies competing against each other. The concept of the Red Queen reigns from Lewis Carroll's 1946 novel Through the Looking Glass. Thornburg says that with the Red Queen, the two competitive technologies compete at such a rapid pace. Both technologies start running as fast as they can, yet, no matter how fast they run, they seem to be staying in the same place. Red Queens on obsolete technology. The force of the Red Queens does not explain why an obsolete technology such as the overhead projector emerges. Overhead projectors are an invention from the 1940s. The technology was able to provide facilitators with an easy, low-cost interactive learning environment through the beginning of the 21st century. The Red Queens on emerging technology. The force of the Red Queens does not explain how a technology such as the interactive whiteboard emerges. Interactive whiteboards obsolete overhead projectors as a more dynamic interactive technology. Interactive whiteboards use software that provides tools and features specifically to help maximize interaction opportunities. There is a rivalry among two interactive whiteboard manufacturers, such as Promethean interactive whiteboards and smartboards. Thornburg says that the fierce competition between the companies provides incentive to allow vendors to add new features software. Speculation on the future of emerging technology. In the classroom setting, interactive whiteboards provide users with a combination of learning tools. Facilitators are able to design lesson flip charts. Facilitators are also able to design video programming, and help enhance a learner's experience. The technology fosters better teacher-to-student interactions and pedagogical practices. A technology emerging that accompanies interactive whiteboards and fosters interactive learning is Google Chrome. Google Chrome provides all students with access to a cloud-based learning platform that enhances student creativity and student collaboration. All students will be able to set up their cloud accounts through Google in another 10 years. Interactive whiteboards can end up in the supply closet. Holograms are another emerging technology which allows facilitators to model, and demonstrate a strategy without having to be in the classroom. Holograms will allow educators to bring their content to life. Holograms obsolete the need for overhead projectors, whiteboards, chalkboards, filming projectors, digital and videotape players. Holograms may eventually replace interactive whiteboards. A three-dimensional presence can enhance the learner's instructional experience. Let's take a look at the emerging technology tetrad for holograms. Holograms enhance. Allows experts and facilitators the ability to illustrate processes live and in person. It allows instructors to deliver lectures to multiple classrooms anywhere simultaneously. It allows experts to deliver a new dimension to instructional content. It obsoletes the need to use overhead projectors, whiteboards, chalkboards, filming projectors, digital and video tape players, and possibly interactive whiteboards. It retrieves or rekindles the ability for teachers to promote teacher-to-student discourse, the ability to rekindle pedagogical practices that promote cognitive learning, and the ability for teachers to facilitate rich classroom discussion and clarification. It reverses into three-dimensional simulations for teaching physical world concepts to students. In summary, there is an expectation for leaders in educational technology to be aware of emerging technologies. Thornburg examples Marshall McLuhan's laws of media, which impact the nature of new and emerging technologies. The laws of media seek to answer statements about media that anyone can test, prove, or disprove their veracity, what all media has in common, and what the media can do. The questions help form a tetrad of the four laws of media. Creating a tetrad shows how new technologies emerge and how other technologies become obsolete. Dr. Thornburg points out that creating a tetrad supports practitioners in being aware of how new technologies incorporate creative processes into everyday life. New technologies support learners and facilitates learning. As a futurist, it is important to be aware, explain, and to be able to demonstrate to the end users the significance of using an emerging technology.